You know, I haven't read something from a fan in a while, from a fellow Sonic fan, if you will. But apparently, this fan over at DeviantArt, I'll provide the link down below, talks about the Deus Ex Machina, uh, Machina of of comics. Basically, explains exactly what a DEM, a Deus Ex Machina, Machin, whatever it is, Machina is, what a DEM is. And this is what he said. He did this about 12 hours ago. So this is about basically about 3 in the morning, I believe. Well, my time it's about 5:46, but basically about depending on what it was, yeah, about 5 basically about 5:45 in the morning. About 12 hours ago. It's about 5:51 right now, p.m. So he did this in the morning. But anyway, this is what mythologist 611GL over at Deviantart has to say about this. This is what he said, what basically explaining what a DEM is. This is what he explains, and I quote what a DEM is. This is how he explains it, and I quote: For those of you, who don't know, a Deus Ex Machina (DEM) is a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem is suddenly and abruptly resolved by the contrived and unexpected in, intervention of some new event, character, ability, or object. Depending on how it is done, it can be intended to move the story forward when the writer has painted himself into a corner and sees no other way out, to surprise the audience, to bring a happy ending into the tale, or as a comedic device. The Deus Ex Machina (DEM) can be used in either a good way or a bad way. Why am I telling you this, you ask? Let's think about the Super Genesis wave. It was used as a way to completely alter the universe to one's will with the power of 7 Chaos Emeralds, correct? But let's try to dig a little deeper. What if the Super Genesis wave was in fact a Deus Ex Machina (DEM) in disguise? What if the writers saw no way of fixing things in the old Mobius and decided to abruptly end it by creating the new one? What if they saw no way out of the mess they started? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? The Super Genesis wave was like a Deus Ex Machina (DEM). It was used to abruptly get rid of the main plot and replace it, along with the comics in general, with a cheap commercial for video games. At least that's what I believe. Whether this gives you all an idea or not, I'll leave it up to you. Now, I know this is completely unrelated. Now, this is where he talks about the other part of his title of his subject called Don't Give Up. But this is what he said, and I quote: Now, I know this is completely unrelated, but I'm tired of listening to all you whining and giving up hope. If you look back on your respective country's history, you'll find that your respective founding fathers never gave up on their independence. Heck, I'm from Ireland, a country that failed to achieve independence on more than one occasion. Despite these setbacks, we Irish never gave up on their goal, and it was the unyielding determination that helped us achieve independence back in the 40s. There were many non-revolutionary leaders who also never gave up. Even Michelangelo, the artist, talked to the Pope. All I'm trying to say is don't give up. If you stay true to your goals, they will be accomplished. Okay, so basically, what mythologist 611GL is saying, first of all, as far as the first of all, what he just said there, the "don't give up" portion of this journal. Basically, what he's trying to say to a lot of the Sonic fans that don't like the changes, that are sick and tired of the constant changes to backstories, the getting rid of certain characters, or putting them on the shelves or the sidelines indefinitely, or for the time being, or whatever. Basically what he's saying is, hey, don't give up. Continue fighting to not only get these changes to stop, but to get these characters back. Don't stop fighting, because sooner or later you will accomplish your goal. And believe it or not, that is the goal of a lot of fans. There is a petition on change.org that talks about this. All you have to do is, I think, type in Archie Sonic or something like that at change.org, and you'll see it. You'll find it somewhere. But apparently, it's to stop the changes and to bring back the characters that will be loved in the comic, the fans loved reading about in the comics. It's to stop these changes. Basically, that's all it is. And to bring the characters back. So that's what he's talking about don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Basically, he's saying is, hey, just because things have changed, don't give up your goal of getting things back to the way they were. Now, as far as the first portion of this journal here, where he talks about the Deus Ex Machina, the DEM, and everything, and how the Super Genesis wave was probably that. There's some people that commented down below that pretty much are going like, yeah, you're just catching on to that. And I'll be honest with you. The Genesis wave was indeed a DEM. Because, let's be honest, there were certain situations, behind the scenes, lawsuit-wise and all that, that basically the writers couldn't get themselves out of. But here's the thing, though, about the DEM, though. Even though the Super Genesis wave, as they called it, in Worlds Collide, even though the Super Genesis wave was exactly that, there's always a reasoning for it. And the reasoning wasn't just because they wrote themselves into a corner. The reasoning's real simple. Do you think, and I'm asking you guys this question right now, do you think for one instant, that Archie Comics wants to lose the license to publish these Sonic the Hedgehog comic books? Do you think they want to lose the license to publishing these reprints in the Super Digest, the graphic novels, the Super magazines? The archives, the best of? You think they really want to lose those licenses? No. Do you think they want to lose the license on doing Sonic Universe? No. And here's why. It's about money. They like making money, and they know the Sonic comic book and all its spin-offs is one of the biggest money makers, if not the biggest money maker. And they don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose that whatsoever. That is why they did this Deus Ex Machina, this DEM with the Super Genesis wave. This is why they did it. They did it because they don't want to lose the license whatsoever. They did it so that they could keep the license and show Sega, okay, fine, you want it to be more like the games? Here, we'll keep the characters, but we'll make the characters look like they're from the video games. So that if people are reading this comic, they'll be like, oh, there's Bunny Rabbit. Oh, she looks like she's from the games. I wonder what game she'll be in. See, that's what they want. See, that's why they did what they did. That's why this DEM happened. Was it necessary? From a behind-the-scenes standpoint, yes, it was necessary. From a non-behind-the-scenes standpoint, no, it wasn't. But there's nothing you can really do about it, right? Well, that's where his last thing in the journal comes in. It says, don't give up. Because I believe this is the goal. I believe this is the real goal. It's not just to get things back to the way they were. But here's what I think could happen. This is what I believe could be the end result. Should and possibly the petition become a success, should and possibly the goal of several Sonic fans out there, which is, believe it or not, well over 500 signatures were signed on this petition already, with 500 more to go, if not less. And I'm one of them that signed it, because I'll be honest with you folks, I don't mind the changes, but if you keep constantly doing this, it's going to ruin the comic. I'll be honest, it will. I mean, I'm enjoying the comic as it is. Like I said, I don't mind certain changes and all that. I can understand it. But quite honestly, the reason I signed this and the reason I want these changes to stop is because I want this damn division between the fans to stop. You keep changing it, you're going to keep dividing the fan base, you're going to keep alienating the fan base, and it needs to stop. It does. It needs to stop, folks. It does. But the point is, folks, that to me, this is what could happen. This is what I see happening. Should and possibly the goal be achieved, this is what will happen. Ian Flynn will write a story that will basically start the roller coaster, or start the road to revealing that this whole alternate reality isn't just temporary, and that it's going to be up to Sonic to decide where he wants to, basically, what period of the original timeline in reality he wants to go back to. That's what I believe is going to happen. It's basically going to be more like the alternate reality is going to be temporary, and that should, and this is a should and possibly achievement of this goal by the fans happen, Ian Flynn will write that story to where the timeline will be revealed as being, this new alternate timeline will be revealed as being temporary, and that the ending result of this new storyline should, and again, like I said, should this goal be achieved, and possibly could be achieved, or will be achieved, I should say, possibly could and will be achieved, this is what could happen. That storyline could be written, and then the climax of that storyline, that climax, could have Sonic deciding, okay, we're as Super Sonic, because I see that happening, as Super Sonic, what point of the original timeline does he want to go back to? Does he want to go back before Sally becomes Mecha Sally? Does he want to go back before the Death Egg even launches? That's going to be an interesting scenario. But that's only if the petition is a success, and if the goal is a success, if the goal is achieved. And as the old saying goes, you can never say never around here. And as the old saying goes, the impossible can always be achieved. The impossible can become possible. It's like the saying in the Bible, with God, all things are possible. And that's what it is. If you pray to God and you ask him to make the impossible possible, it will happen. But the point is, folks, that's what this person was talking about in the second half of this journal when they say don't give up. But again, as far as the first half of it goes, yes, I do see the Genesis wave being like that. I do. And I can understand from a behind-the-scenes standpoint why they did it, like I mentioned earlier. And I can understand I can also see from a non-behind-the-scenes standpoint as saying, it didn't really need to be done, but what's done is done, but it doesn't mean it's permanent. You see, you got to look at it that way. Now, here's the way I look at it. Even if this petition at change.org gets over 1,000 signatures, which is going to be the goal, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be achieved. I'm pretty sure it will be achieved. Should it get a lot of signatures, it does not mean, let's face reality, it does not mean it's going to be a success. Now, in the past, when petitions have gotten so many signatures, yes, they have been a success. They have been. It's proven to be. But there's also been times that petitions, despite how many signatures you will have not been a success. So a lot of people have to prepare themselves for that. But again, like I say, from a behind-the-scenes standpoint, I can understand why they did this Deus Ex Machina with the Super Genesis wave, and I can understand and I can also see it from a non-business, from a non-behind-the-scene, from a non-behind-the-scenes standpoint as saying, yeah, this really wasn't necessary, you know. You could have just let it be. You could have just had it go back to the way it was. But again, this is where like mythologists said, where the writers like Ian Flynn may have wrote themselves into a corner. You see, Ian Flynn had to basically heavily alter and edit the subplot of endangered species. He had to do that from his original storyline. He had to alter it because of what happened behind the scenes with Ken Penders and Archie. He had to alter it. And not a lot of people were happy about that. But he did it. You know, so that's one reason of saying, that's one way of saying the writers kind of wrote themselves into a corner. Another way of saying they wrote themselves into a corner, and there's a lot of people that might even agree on this, is with what happened with the Sally character. When she was turned into Mecha Sally and she was weaponized and all that, pretty much a lot of fans said, oh yeah, Ian, you pretty much a lot of fans are like, oh yeah, how are you going to restore her now if you pretty much had Eggman weaponize her? Pretty much, as some fans would say, gutted her, or basically took her apart piece by piece, which I still do not believe. I believe it was weaponized armor that was placed on top of her, because when you look at how he's measuring her head and her arms, it's basically measuring like for a dress and all that. But still, I'm sure Ian Flynn and a lot of people over at Archie pretty much heard how fans were reacting to it and how they felt it was done. And pretty much these fans will be like, yeah, Ian, you pretty much wrote yourself into a corner, because how the heck are you going to have Sally restored now? You know. And yeah, they had a lot of scenarios that they speculated on how she could be restored, but still, it's like, yeah, you pretty much, they said, yeah, you pretty much made it impossible for her to be de-roboticized, no matter how you come up with a way of doing it. So, but again, that's basically how this mythologist looks at the Super Genesis wave being. Basically, the Super Genesis wave being that DEM, that Deus Ex Machina, that basically erases that plot point and resolves that problem, that plot point of Sally being restored. So, yeah, there you go. But anyway, I'll provide a link to this person's thing. You can read it for yourself, give your own analogy on it, give your own comments and stuff. And that's all I'm going to say, folks. So until then, God bless. Take care. Comments are welcome.